Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 43. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by my co-host extraordinaire, the first and only best Canadian podcaster in the world, the Canadian, Mark Carabin.
Sean is going to take some...
for trouble.
Some problem with that. Yeah, that's gonna. You're causing a little Canadian turf war here, West Coast, East Coast. You're just trying to start some shit.
Well, you guys can get your booses and get some street wars going, and it'll be good to go.
That's it. Yeah, it's gonna be all out knuckle sandwich when Sean comes. So we're gonna have to meet in the middle. So we'll meet I don't know, Toronto or Manitoba or some shit. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, it's somewhere over there. Yeah, well, Sean, there we go. That's it.
I'm sorry, Sean.
We're throwing down, I guess. Apparently. You know what? Neither do I. I love me some Sean Capri. So I'm not. But you know what? If he wants to throw down.
Well, there's somebody else we love, and that is the one and only Bobby Big Bucks. Bobby Paul's. Bobby,
what is up?
Long time no talk, man. I think it was the Joker podcast. This is the last time we did a podcast.
Yeah, I like doing your comic book podcasts. I like being over on Secret Friends Unite because I get to keep Charlie in check, which is always fun. And it's good. It's a good time.
We might have to have you back on because I don't know if you've been watching it, but we probably need to talk about DC Universe stuff. So I think that might be a good.
So the last time I was on, it wasn't the Joker. The last time was the Infinite.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Crisis on Infinite Wars. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, good deal. So we will definitely have to have you on again and talk about it because I'm not sure when Wonder Woman's coming out. So
you should have a lot of stuff to talk about with DC Fandom coming up. Twice. Yeah. It's split into two shows, right? Yeah. So you might have some stuff, and Affleck's back. You guys will have a lot to talk about coming up.
Yeah, Affleck made my heart swell, man. among other things, but that's
Affleck and Keaton in the same movie. This is going to be just. I'm just waiting for the news that Robert Pattinson's going to be in that one too, make it a triple bat threat.
I think he's definitely.
It's going to be
But I think what's his face supposed to be there too, isn't he? The television Flash.
Yeah.
Grant Gustin, really?
Grant Gustin.
I can see that.
And Ezra Miller already did a little cross thing on.
I think that's why they're kind of
on the Flash TV show. So that would kind of make sense. Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, sadly, I would say Val Kilmer too, but I feel bad for Val Kilmer. The guy lost his voice. He's doing bad. He's doing bad. Yeah. And George Clooney, of course, he's always welcome back too.
Stop it. All right, let's get on. What is it? We're not over here doing this stuff. Like, come on, let's get where we're supposed to be.
Absolutely, yeah. So, for those of you who don't know Bobby, he is the Nintendo guru. Like I said, he is. Bobby and I go back. We met actually on the NBC Forums podcast and Facebook, and we became friends ever since. And Bobby just loves Nintendo, does multiple podcasts, does lots of streaming. So, if you are into Nintendo, Bobby is a guy to follow. And he'll tell you how to do that at the end of the show. But we're going to talk about what we're gaming. And Bobby, you've been playing a game that we're kind of both interested in, Super Mega Baseball.
Yes.
It's all about it.
Listen, man, it's a fun game. I love it. It actually I took a little break from Animal Crossing to play it. I started a season in there. I built a custom season, build a team, been playing. Made this whole custom team around all my all-time favorite players at each position. And it's just fun, man. It's an arcadey baseball game. It doesn't take itself too serious. The nice thing that I love about it is because if you've ever played baseball games or games in general, like sports games, eventually you get to the point where you can just blow the computer out every single time you play, and it just becomes super easy. What's nice about this, they have what's called an ego system. And all you're doing with the ecosystem is you're just clicking up every now and again, and it's boosting the AI and making the AI more difficult. And it actually tells you, like, hey, you're beating the computer pretty badly. You might want to bump up your ego and make it more difficult. So what I do is every 10 games that I win, every 5 games that I win, I boost it up 5 points. And it's gone from me like dominating and hitting the most home runs and all this stuff to like actually now I'm struggling to hit home runs and the computer's actually putting up points against me and like it's just back and forth battle. But the other thing that happens too is they start to take the controls off of the players. So like, normally when you first start the game, like the computer's controlling the outfielders, you're controlling where the ball gets thrown. But as you start to boost the ego up, you have to now go catch the balls, and so it starts to it slowly builds and teaches you the game the proper way. It's amazing. It's so good.
I really liked. I really like Super Mega Baseball 2, and I haven't picked up 3 yet. And just talking before the show, I know we said it's on sale, and you said it's not a massive difference from 2.
Yeah.
What is there anything that you would say for someone like me while it's on sale, if they're teetering, pick it up, don't pick it up?
I mean,
what's your call there?
The thing for me is like I look at it like if they added more teams, they did change up. They made a more like a pro style pitching and hitting system. So like if you're used to the more traditional like the show type hitting, they actually created a whole system like that as well that makes it a little bit more difficult for those that are into like the more simulation baseball games. They added more stadiums, so they did add some stuff to the game, and I think they have a tournament mode coming as well. That's going to get patched in at some point. But overall, I feel like it's worth the upgrade. Like I would look at it and go like I was glad. I was telling you guys, like I did a review for the Nintendo Dads, so they gave me the game for free. But like, if I didn't get the game for free, I would have bought it day one. Like it's just, it's one of those things.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, it's such a great series. So if you haven't picked it up, 3 is a great one. If you are like me and you picked up 2 late when it went on sale. So that's why I've been kind of teetering, but yeah, it kind of sounds like eventually I'm definitely going to pick this up, and I might, I don't know. I bought a couple of games today, and we'll see.
It looks like there's a demo of the game out as well, which is the best way to really try out a game. To see if you like it.
All right. Yeah. But if I download the demo, then I'll pay for it.
Oh, Mark. Now,
I know the second I play this game, I'm going to just buy it. It's going to be one of those things like, oh, yeah, it plays smoother. They added this. There's a whatever. And I'm just going to, throw my money at the screen, and that'll be it.
Do you guys remember a baseball game? Was it Cyber Baseball, where it was robots playing baseball? Like a Neo Geo or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I love
like the Mega Man arm cannon for the pitcher kind of thing. Yeah, I remember that.
I love arcade sports games.
Yeah.
I am very excited, though. It sounds like we are going to get one from 2K, I believe, for the NFL, which should be next year if we ever.
I can't wait for that, man. I can't wait for that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Mark, you've been playing. Bobby, have you been playing anything else, or?
Just Animal Crossing. That's all. Like I love that game.
If you are looking for the best Animal Crossing content, follow Bobby.
Thank you. Yeah, I got almost 600 hours in now.
Crazy.
Yeah, and like it's so much fun, dude. I got these like my island. I rebuilt it 3 times now. Like I'm on my 3rd build. It's like so much fun, dude. So much fun.
Bobby,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, Bobby, you'd be so proud.
Would you play for 2 minutes?
I paid it for 2 hours. My son allowed me to go on his island, of course, because we have on Switch. And so far, I have a tent and trash. That's all I got. He left me trash. He left me like a tire and all this crap. I think I'm like his indentured servant. I don't know. It's very.
We talked about this before, and we've talked about Bobby's stuff before. The game shows that you're doing on Twitch.
Nook or No Nook, I'm doing, which is like Deal or No Deal.
It's incredible.
Nook or No Nook is so much fun. We've actually taken it up a level. So what I do is we've moved, because I have 2 islands. I have multiple switches, but I have a second island, and we moved the set from my main island over to the other island. So we rebuilt it. The island is Gotham. So, we basically set it up with like in the background is a city and it has like
using the servers, right?
Using the
like the server towers. That's so brilliant.
So
Greg,
cool.
I love it.
It's so cool. We got like a lighthouse with the light spinning and all pretty awesome, right? But then what I did was there's a guy in the community named Argo, and I was talking to him and I said the one day he came over to drop something off for me to build with, and he's dressed like Tom Nook. I said, look, what we're gonna do is on the final round of the night, you're gonna come to the island and you're gonna play the banker because I have a banker chair set up.
Oh my god!
And he plays the banker. And he sits over there and he's talking trash to the contestants and he's like putting up the numbers and he's laughing at them when they mess up and it's so
incredible.
Good. It is amazing. It's amazing. And then what we do is we have like all these cases set out, right? Mike UK, I gotta give a shout out to Mike UK as well. Mike UK actually designed the Nook No Nook logo. We have it on the floor now. We got it on the back wall. He made all the numbers. So like when you watch Deal or No Deal, there'd be girls there with suitcases with numbers on it, or briefcases with numbers on it. We basically have these mannequins that are shirt numbers, and then they have these briefcases in front of them. And what I do is I have a piece of paper with like all the numbers, and then I pre-fill out and make up where the dollar amounts are. So I'm not cheating. There's all the cases I open are dollar bills, except for the one is gold bars. And if you open, that's how you know that's the million bells. Is when you open that's the million bells. Dude, it is so. And when we get to like round 3, I pump intense music into the chat. So the person playing is freaking out because he's got this high intensity.
That's so awesome. Good. That's amazing. Amazing. We've talked about your stuff on the show before, but if anyone's not following, go follow Bobby
Absolutely.
on Twitch. Follow the Yumi Capri Patreon for like everything that you guys do, because you and Sean do so much.
Yes,
it's amazing. You're constantly changing things up. I love listening. I think you talked about that first maybe on the Yumi Capri podcast, like the exclusive one for just patrons. That's just you and Sean, and you were talking about how you built up Gotham and stuff, and I was just like geeking out just listening to you talk and be like, oh my god, I gotta go like see awesome. This on Twitch. It's amazing. Awesome. That's fantastic stuff.
Quick question though, Bobby, have you ever played Deal or No Deal at like Dave and Buster's?
No.
Oh, it's so much fun. It is so much fun.
How I did it though, one day I was streaming when the game first came out, and someone came to the stream and was like, hey, do you want to come to my island and play Deal or No Deal? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I go over to the island, and he just had it like numbers on the ground and like these bell bags laying on the ground, and I won 750,000 bells off the guy. And I was like, all right, I see what you're doing here, but I could do this so much better. So I just changed up the way he did it and like built this entire set. And this is the best part. One night we're playing, and I didn't realize the animals will open the briefcases up. So I forget to
remember this.
I forget to lock out the set, right? And I come over, and I'm like, as I come running over, I'm like, wait a minute. There's like 4 briefcases open, and here's an animal walking around. I'm like, whoa! And I had to like blur the screen real quick. And I'm like, all right, you got to go back home, and I got to reset this board now. And I was like, these stupid animals, man, they really just come over and start opening up briefcases.
It's like raccoons going into trash cans.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things with Animal Crossing that I've experienced is I was just on my island. I have 2 Godzilla statues as soon as you come up from the flight thing, the airport. So I have 2 Godzilla statues, and so I'd come back from flying somewhere, and I was like texting. I think it was my sister's island, and I was texting my sister or something, and I just left the controller down, and I was standing next to the Godzilla statues, and one of my animals just comes up, presses the Godzilla statue, which causes like the dun 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 music and the roar, and he spits fire out. And he just watches this happen and then turns around and walks out the same way he came. And I'm like, just staring at this, like, what the hell are these animals? Like, what are they doing? It's like their personalities are so hilarious.
It's good.
The shit they get into.
I was like, shut up.
Yeah.
I don't know what
he's just texting Sean Capri like they're doing it. They're talking about Animal Crossing.
Holy
Save
shit,
me.
I believe he's talking about this. No, it's like when I talk about something that Charlie hates, he goes, I'm just happy for you, which means
the reason this podcast exists is anytime you talked about
exactly.
Charlie would just glaze over, die a little bit inside. He'd get back at you talking about cosplay.
It's like we all glaze over when Charlie starts talking about Star Trek. It's
we finally got to the
30-second skip.
We finally get to the point where he doesn't talk about cosplay. I don't talk about video games. It's a perfect marriage.
There you go. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Well, Mark, you and I both played a couple of the same games. And I'm not sure if Bobby's played either of these, but he definitely should because somebody gave him a Game Pass 3-month subscription, which, by all means, Bobby, take advantage of it.
I haven't been using it.
Jesus, well, you should use it for this.
I'll use it. You know why I might use it is because this 2K golf game I want to check out.
Perfect.
Well, you should use it also for Battletoads. That's the first one I'm going to talk about. I'll save the other. Battletoads, I've only played the first little bit so far, and it is already like the humor's great. It looks like a Saturday morning cartoon. The voice acting's fantastic, and it plays like an old school beat 'em up kind of game. It's so far just everything that I hoped it was. I don't know if maybe the experience kind of gets shallow later on, but so far I've heard really good things, and I can't wait to play more. I just love that they're taking this old franchise that was like basically just the same Toad recolored 3 different times, but they've given them all their own personalities and their different sizes and whatever, and it's just so cool. I want them to come out with a rethink of the Double Dragon games just so we can get a new Battletoad Double Dragon crossover. Like, so good.
Here's a question for you. This game was made by Rare, correct?
Yep.
No, this was not. It was made by a Go-Go. What was the name of the studio?
It is a Rare.
It's a Rare property, but they got a different developer to make this one.
Yeah.
Is it hard? Like the originals were?
You can play a very hard mode. It's called Toad mode. Is that what it's called?
Something. Yeah. There are various difficulty settings. Yeah. I put mine in the middle. I might dial it down if I just want to experience the Saturday morning cartoon vibes of this without smashing one of my Xbox controllers. But like, there's no reason if you have an Xbox not to try this game out because it is Game Pass day and date. It's just try it out. It's so far so good.
The thing for me that I remember about the Battletoads was they came out right around the time the Ninja Turtles did, like after the Ninja Turtles. And it was kind of like Nintendo's version of the Ninja Turtles, through Rare and all that stuff. I loved the game. They were just so hard. They were so hard, but I loved them. I thought they were great.
This one, one thing that I liked about this game is the stages, especially the bike stages, were always super difficult in the old ones. In this one, it seems, and I haven't experienced one of these yet, so I really want to, but from what I've read, it's not procedurally generated, so you can actually memorize the patterns and stuff. So you will be able to get through it eventually, even if it is tough. Which that's what I did back in the day. Like that's like
you had to,
right? You had this game that you had to just play because that was the only game you might have had for a while. And I mean, if this game was on Switch, then that might be the case. But little Switch dig because I haven't done anything in a while. But anyway, yeah. So you're going to be able to eventually get through this, no matter how tough it is. But I think dialing down the difficulty at certain parts might make it a little less controller shattering, frustrating, kind of awful. But I'm so excited to keep playing this game. And between that and I forgot to put this on my list, but I will throw it in this conversation as well. The Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 demo, the warehouse demo, played that as well. So between Battletoads and Tony Hawk, I kind of stepped into a DeLorean this week, and it's like 25 years ago, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is amazing. So it's been a week. It's been a fun week for sure.
Did you break out your Jinko jeans, Mark?
Yeah, I got
Too.
super awkward around girls. My wife was very, very happy with that. I got some Dunkaroos, and yeah, it's been a good week.
You know my company makes Dunkaroos, right? And we brought it back.
For real?
Yes.
Dunkaroos
real.
are back?
Yeah, they're back, man. Better than ever.
Dude, that's amazing. I loved Dunkaroos back in the day.
It's diabetes ready to go.
Sweet.
I also played Battletoads, Mark, and I think I got a little bit further than you, but you have to get through the first level because that's where you see the intent of what they're doing. That's when really you get to the sense of humor. I guess the writers were from the Rick and Morty show.
Fantastic. Yeah.
This is by Delilah, who actually worked with Rare on Sea of Thieves. They did some work there. So they have a relationship, a partnership, which is great, which is probably how they got this job. Yeah. And I'm really impressed, too. I think it's great. The combos are really impressive and actually a little difficult at times because you're like, oh, I can do this or I can do that or I can do this. And you switch between the different toads as you're doing it. So it really adds a lot of flavor. So if you don't like one toad, play as another one, which is great. Yeah.
Awesome. And speaking of Sea of Thieves, there is some Battletoads themed ship stuff coming out. So check those out. You can get the sails and the ship colors and all that kind of stuff. I can't remember offhand how to get that, so Google it. I'm not going to look it up right now. But it is they are coming out with some Sea of Thieves Battletoad crossover, and it looks badass. Todd, you also played the next game that I played, and that is Fall Guys. PlayStation has come out with so many amazing games, Ghost of Tsushima, even God of War, so many Last of Us 2, so many great games. And I've been talking for a long time that I haven't really turned on my PlayStation since Spider-Man. Obviously, my PlayStation Plus has lapsed. I've been very focused on Switch and Xbox, and it took a not even close to AAA single player story narrative masterpiece to get me back into the PlayStation ecosystem. But Fall Guys did it because it looks so dumb. Those jelly bean characters look like something Nintendo should have come up with, but they didn't. Devolver Digital published this one. I forget who made it, but holy crap, this game's been taking off. It needs to be everywhere. This should not be a PlayStation exclusive for long. I'm sure it won't be.
No, they've already said that they want to go everywhere. Yeah, but they have to fix a lot. This game is super buggy, super issues. So they'll get it there.
I haven't run into any issues. I keep hearing people saying it's full of issues. I have not yet run into a single issue playing a game. Maybe it's because I suck and I lose too quick. Maybe it's because I just haven't played it enough because, I've played quite a few matches. I haven't won a single one yet, but I've played quite a few. But I haven't come into any issues. Todd, have you?
Just when so I had my friends come over. He brought his son over, who's much younger than Logan. But we played it together. I'm like, this is the perfect game to play. Just pass the controller. Everybody takes a round, and we did have a couple hangups with it just dropped us out. So I had to restart a round. But that was like the only time. But man, oh man, I think I'm gonna say this game is this very similar in its effect by being on PS Plus as Rocket League did.
Yeah,
Rocket League would have not have taken off if it wasn't free, getting in front of everybody, and that game exploded. And obviously, you see what it is today, and people love it. It's become a big thing. This is the same thing. If this wasn't on PS Plus, you wouldn't get 60 million people playing this game, and people paying on Steam to pay this, and now everybody wants to play it, and it's perfect. Yeah. It's simple, it's easy, it's a battle royale for everybody. It's goofy, but you know who did win? My friend's son Henry won. So Yep, Henry won, and it was fantastic to watch him do it. He was so excited.
Awesome.
And man, it just shows how being young and nimble fingers beats out old crafty guys.
Yeah, for sure. This game is as much as this sounds dirty for some reason when I want to say it, but having young nimble fingers. I don't know. Anyway, but it's, Bobby's just checked out completely. So
You
anyway,
say, like,
so
luscious fingers.
as much as that can help this game, it is so accessible. It's ridiculous. Finn started crying the other night. I picked him up because he was super fussy and he just wanted attention from me, and he didn't want any attention from Loren for whatever reason. He was just like, no, that it was just me. So anyway, I kind of like threw the controller on the couch in that in between part of the game where it's like the next game's gonna be, and I was just like, take the controller, just get to the end of the stage, because it was one of those you just run through the obstacles with the spinning whatever the hell.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren was like, what do you mean? I was just like, just get to the thing. The X is jump, just get to the end. She was like, okay, picks up the controller, and she made it. She qualified through and got to the next round, and she was just like, this is awesome, this is adorable, like I want to play more. So now we've been handed the controller back and forth, and that's how we've been playing this game. So it is so accessible. I've talked about how like she doesn't want to play Splatoon, she doesn't want to play Ottoman Empire, Fortnite, any of that kind of stuff, because she doesn't like the twin sticks and moving the camera around in a 3D game. But this one,
let's go
forward. She doesn't have to move it, it's just go, right? She instantly loved it. So the more devices this is on, I want this to hit Fortnite levels of just go everywhere. Like I want to be able to play this on a toaster. This is, I really hope this game just takes off and continues the momentum that we're already seeing. I hope it's not just a quick kind of one and done. I hope they can keep building on what they're doing.
They're already talking about like they're looking like the Fortnite type stuff. They're looking like skins for the characters and
like,
KFC, Burger King. I heard they all want to have partnerships.
Have you seen what they're doing with the skins?
I haven't seen them yet, but you know.
So they're right now they're basically getting companies to pay and bid for what the next like sponsored skin is, but it's all going to charity.
Which is perfect.
So they're up to like $500,000 the last time I checked, and that was like a day or two ago. And like Ninja's trying to get in with some sort of charity. Big companies are trying to get into it and say like, you know, use this as our marketing budget or this and that. And they're all bidding against one another. And basically the money's just going to go to charity, but they're like $500,000 to get your branded skin in Fall Guys. That is what this game is doing. But I love that, and we're gonna get into Fortnite and their shit later. So the amount of like goodwill that Fall Guys is doing when it's like Goliath versus Goliath pissing match going on in one corner, and then Fall Guys is here with these cute little jelly bean characters going, hey KFC, you want to be in the game? Cool, give some money to charity. Yeah. And we'll put you in the game. Like, it's so good. So good. I want all the success for this game.
It's amazing that Devolver, a studio that makes games that are like disgusting and horribly ugly, and their E3 shows are a horror film.
Terrible.
And they made this, they published this game, which is so weird. So this developer that they found and just found something special in it, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm so happy for them and what they could do.
For sure. The last game I want to talk about, and I haven't played this. I just bought it before we started on Jules Watcham's suggestion. So thanks, Jules. I bought a short hike that was featured in the Nintendo Indie Showcase that we'll talk about a little bit later. And I'm very excited to play this because he said it's super zen and it looks like a DS kind of game, but it looks just super relaxing. And I really can't wait to jump into this. It finished downloading on my Switch, so hopefully I'll get to play it tonight after we finish recording.
Yeah, it kind of looks like an N64 game, like you said, Mark. And just kind of cute. And I've heard it's really fun. And they said I heard someone say it's the best game about a mountain, even better than Celeste. So take it as you
wow.
want.
Okay. That's really, I literally just like, I haven't looked up any reviews. I literally like saw that Jules bought this game, tweeted like, is it any good? And he was like, it's super zen. And I just bought it sight unseen, like just that's it. No other reviews than that. So Jules, thumbs up. Thank you. Hopefully this game's great. I'm sure I'll love it.
Awesome. Well, I am almost done with Ghost of Tsushima. My son is now my guru in a way for this game because he beat this game and he is a beast. And I have begun to tell him stop talking and stop telling me what to do, because he is a much better gamer than I am. And man, oh man, nothing is worse than a backseat gamer.
Backseat samurai.
Oh,
I love that you're bullying me now. I love it. It is the best.
Yep.
All those times in NBC when you used to give me a hard time, I love the fact that your son now is doing the same thing to you. I love it. This is payback. This is karma.
He definitely takes after me, Bobby. So what can I say? I asked for it apparently when I had my son. But no, I'm loving the game. I'm on the 3rd chapter. But the game is so fun. The side quests, just like Witcher or Skyrim, the side quest just adds so much more depth to the game as a whole. Like I did a side quest to get a flaming sword. Just it's not, you don't have to do it, but the fact that you can do it and the quest to get it is so much fun. I'm just loving it. Once again, it gives you an extra way to go after enemies and just have fun. But I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I just want to finish the game, and you can, after you're done, go back and do those extra storyline missions and things if you want. So it's great. But what I'm super excited about is the fact that they announced this Ghost of Tsushima Legends, which is a 4-player co-op mode that is set in almost like, it's like when you've seen Far Cry where they do that weird, like, here's a Far Cry game, but we're going to be like in a fever dream. Like, was that one? Was it Dragon or something?
Shit, what's that called? Yeah, it is like Neon Dragon.
Neon Dragon or something. Yeah.
Which balls or something. I can't remember what it's called.
Yes, this is a co-op mode where you play with 4 of your friends. You look like you're Japanese demons, and you go out and just play cooperatively, like a co-op mode, like in Destiny or something like that, and take down. It's PVE PVE mode.
Blood Dragon,
which is a great game. Great game. But yeah, it's fantastic, and it's basically Japanese legends and folklore in this mode. And I'm so glad they announced this after, because if they announced this while they were doing it, people would be so pissed off. Like, they're not focusing on the main game. It's taking away from what the game could be. Yeah. And I would never expect this from a game like a developer like Sucker Punch, that they've never made something like this. I just cannot say. And that's one thing I will give Sony credit for. They allow their developers to do different things. I mean, it's just like Naughty Dog. I mean, going from Ratchet, all those games that they went through and they did, and Jack and Daxter. They're not going back to make a Jack and Daxter game. Sony didn't make them do it. Same thing with Insomniac. I mean, they started off with Sly Cooper, and then they go make Sucker Punch. They made Sly Cooper. Then they made the Infamous games, and now they're doing this. It's just great to see how these developers grow. So props to them. Can't wait for that. That's coming in the fall. I did play the Avengers beta, and I played it last week, and I will probably play some more.
It's open beta this week, right?
Yes, for everything.
Yeah, I just finished downloading it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely worth playing. I will say this is a tale of two games. The single-player story, which I think is excellent, and I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was great. They gave you a feel for each of the characters, how they play, and they're actually really fun to play. They all feel different. Hulk feels fantastic. Captain America's awesome to play as. Every character felt great. You played two boss fights, essentially. Taskmaster, and I won't give the other one away because you haven't seen him yet. And Miss Marvel is fantastic. She's a great addition. Then you get to the multiplayer mode, which they call the War Table. This is like Destiny missions where you take on waves of enemies. I don't think this is going to hold sway over people. It just feels like a bad beat 'em up, and it's continuous 10 waves of doing the same thing.
I have to do, 3 of those to get the Hulk fist in Fortnite? Yeah. That's literally the only reason I downloaded this demo.
Yeah, do it, take care of it, and it just starts to feel repetitive after a time. Playing with friends would probably make it better, but one of the big problems I see with the game is it's all about loot, and the loot is not something that shows on your character. So you get a bracelet. You hold up the bracelet in the menu, looks cool, but when you go out there, your character doesn't show it. So there's no sense of progression in how your character looks. It's +6. It's really not doing much. Some of it is based on like frost resistance. So if you're going to a frost level, sure with that. But Hulk gets his upgrade includes a spine. Okay, that's not cool.
He's just gonna swap his spine out.
Yeah, but you don't see it. So once again, I mean, and I'm excited to see what they do with. I'm worried though that this is all going to come down to buying skins, which would be like classic costumes and things, because I thought that's what you would get through the progression of the game. They're going to go with skins to make money, to make this. So I'm worried, but they are going to be. Apparently, there's a list of 15 more heroes that have been leaked that will be coming to the game, which sounds cool. But I just don't know if there's enough there to keep me into the game. But I guess we'll see. But I thought the single player game is really fun. It feels like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, but from a different perspective.
It's kind of cool. This game definitely has potential, but we've talked before about wanting that Captain America statue, but not wanting to pre-order this game. And I'm still at that level. Very, very quickly, I don't want to take up too much time on this. How do you guys feel about the Spider-Man exclusivity? I don't think we've talked about that on the show yet.
Oh, I thought we did. Maybe we
did.
Did we? I thought we did.
I can't remember.
I think it sucks because it limits. I mean, it's cool for Sony, but I think it sucks for the game itself because that limits Spider-Man, everybody playing him, and it limits what missions you could do cooperatively. So I think it's a no-no.
Yeah. I think we did mention our first impressions on this, but now that you've played it, do you feel like that's going to hold some things back? Or
it depends how Spidey plays. If Spidey plays well and plays like Spider-Man, but if it's just like a skin of another character, like Black Widow, but it's Spider-Man, that's going to suck.
Bobby, what do you think?
I think it's fine. A lot of people are pretty upset about it, and I just think that, like, dude, this is, if you grew up, in the 80s and stuff, this is what companies did. Like, this was the way that people got you to buy a game on a particular system. And it's whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you think about it, like, Soul Calibur, they put like all these different versions out back in the day, and like Link, if you bought the GameCube version, you got Darth Vader. If you bought the Sony version, it was like it's just what these companies did for years. So I don't really necessarily see this being any different than back then. I just think that we've gotten into this whole kumbaya thing lately, and people are shocked when it happens, and I don't think they should be. I think this is Sony is going to go after, like, this is how Sony plays ball. Like Xbox and Nintendo, they've kind of been playing, nice together. Sony doesn't care, and Sony wants to do what they got to do to try to win the wars as it goes. And it's not to be expected. The only thing that I don't like about it is if this was the other way around. If this was Xbox, people would be like screaming how disgusting it is.
Right.
I think that a lot more people are more accepting of it because it's on the Sony foot. There are some people that are upset about it, but that's mainly, Xbox fans that are mainly upset.
Right.
But it's
right. And I think you brought up a good point with the Soul Calibur. If you got the Nintendo version, you got Link. If you got this version, and I think that's the big part that's hanging me up is if Black Panther was exclusive to Xbox, Xbox got something, Sony got something, then you kind of feel right now you're paying the exact same price for a game
but
that
you're
getting something less for on Xbox, right?
Let me ask you a question. Did this happen because of the rights that Sony has for it? But it just was something that Sony paid for to get it to happen.
Yeah, no. Sony paid for it 100%. They do not have any exclusive rights to Spider-Man whatsoever.
Just movies.
I could be wrong. This
separate.
could be a deal they made to get the rights to make the Spider-Man game. They said if Spider-Man's going to, and this obviously we had Marvel Ultimate Alliance where Spider-Man was a playable character on Nintendo, but maybe that predated this deal. But maybe it's a scenario where if Spider-Man's in a video game, Sony owns it. I don't know. Yeah,
there could be Marvel, Sony, big picture kind of things, and it could have been in that conversation of, there was that conversation of keep Spider-Man in the MCU and all of that shit fell out and all that kind of stuff. This could be like really, really, really big picture conspiracy theory type shit that's, something there. But in reality, there's nothing public so far stated that Spider-Man cannot appear on other platforms or in other games or whatever. This is I fully expect Spider-Man to be in the next season of Fortnite. They've announced today that it's Marvel themed. There's a Thor teaser. I'm fully expecting to see a Spider-Man skin this season coming. That's going to be on all platforms, maybe except Apple, but we'll get to that. So Spider-Man, Sony seems to be wanting Spider-Man to be associated with their brand, but there's legally nothing stopping Xbox from getting this character.
Yeah. I think what I would like, just like Nintendo obviously made a deal with Marvel to get Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the
Right.
Switch. They published it. They paid money to do this. I would be perfectly happy if Xbox moved the money truck up to Disney and Marvel and said, hey, we want to make an X-Men game, and it's going to be – I'm like, perfect. That's great. Because
100%,
at least somebody's making an X-Men game, because I haven't
Yeah.
seen an X-Men game since that horrible one that Dennis Dyack made that was on the Nintendo Wii. What was that game called? X-Men – it was horrible. You basically weren't an X-Men. They made a mutant that you played as. Oh, horrible.
Oh, I vaguely remember that now that you're saying you made a weird,
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, anyway, I'll check this out. Like I said, I want those Hulkbuster hands for Fortnite, so I'll check out this demo, but that's about it. Todd, you have another thing you wanted to
just a note. I played the game of trying to buy a limited run collector's edition. The Samurai Jack game came out. I'm a huge Samurai Jack fan. My wife and I, when we first got married, that show was out. I bought her action figures that I still have boxed, and I tried to get the collector's edition. I failed. It is now on eBay at double the price. And this is what I don't like. They did not limit anyone from buying multiple copies. Like, they just said you could buy as many as you want, which I just find I hate.
Yep, it sucks.
Yeah,
that sucks.
But,
Is that the same game? Sorry, I'm not a massive Samurai Jack fan or anything, but so a Samurai Jack game just hit Apple Arcade. Is that the same one?
That's the same game. Yep,
okay,
it just
cool.
released today. It's getting decent reviews. I'm not really sure how limited run games works. Like, it says it's going to be like 1 to 2 months before it even gets shipped out, which is I just find annoying. But but there is a silver lining, and Bobby, you'll get a kick out of this. So I used to have a rival on the NVC group. Well, I had a few, but one was a gentleman called Justin Louie.
Oh, yeah.
The funny part was I posted in the IGN Game Scoop group, said, hey, if anybody can help me out, I'd be willing to buy it. He actually said, hey, Todd, if you can't get one, I'll help you get one. So I'm like, you know what? Right. Everybody can be friends. The console wars are over. We've won. COVID's been cured. Life is good.
Just so you know, I left the NVC group because they're a bunch of jerk offs. So
I don't go to the NVC group. This is the IGN Scoop Game Scoop group. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is all right. But yeah, I just sad that it was sold out. But I really wanted the statue and the letter opener sword, because there is no Samurai Jack merchandise. Oh, like at all. So I just really want to be able to get that. That's more what I want to do. But I don't know if I want to spend $250 on it. 130 maybe.
Yeah.
250. No, I don't know. My fandom isn't that high. It's not like it's Lego.
I'm sure that you're not really a true fan, so
absolutely. It's
if you are, it's a no-brainer. You don't need to think about it.
It's not like it's the Lego NES or
didn't even blink an eye. It was like, that's mine. I didn't even blink an eye.
I just pressed download on Samurai Jack on my phone. So Apple Arcade, you win another little battle here. So
that I need to really try out.
Try that out. Yeah, I'll definitely try that game. And it's apparently it's available iPhone, iPad, and Apple TV. So I don't know exactly where I'll play that. I just pressed it on my phone, but most likely I'll be playing that on a TV later.
Nice. Well, I think that's it for what we've been playing. That was a long session, but we got to keep catch up on some things. We get into news very quickly. A recap of the state of the Apple versus everyone at this point. Obviously, we talked about just the restriction of getting xCloud on Apple devices last session, Mark. Now we've got basically Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite, is now going to war against both Apple and Google. They started basically offering a way to buy their V-Bucks cheaper, and then doing it basically bypassing iOS Store, Google Store. That basically got Fortnite removed on both services. Google, you can still get the game, I believe, on one of the other platform stores.
You can get it on the Samsung store, and you could sideload the app there through the Fortnite website, which is something that Android allows, but iOS doesn't. So
absolutely,
you can still technically play it, but it is off the Google store.
Yeah, and the biggest problem will be when there's an update to that game on any device that's any of those.
Yeah, season 3 starts next week. I just said it's Marvel themed. They're teasing it out. This weekend there's a # free Fortnite tournament. You can get the Apple bad guy skin or whatever if you get 10 points in the tournament. So compete on that Sunday. I'll be competing. By the time people listen to this episode, it'll be already passed. Okay, as much I'm going to start this one off if you guys don't mind, but as much as I was completely against Apple in the why can't Xbox and Stadia and that kind of stuff stream on Apple, it's no different in my opinion. Streaming services are no different than Spotify being on there, YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, whatever. It's the same thing. It's just a streaming platform. For this one, I'm actually kind of on Apple's side and Google's side. Epic just wants to bypass giving them their cut. It's the same 30% cut that Xbox, Sony, Nintendo, Steam, everyone takes the exact same 30% cut. The fact that Epic is going specifically after Apple, even though Google kicked them off the exact same way, and the other stores would probably kick them off as well, but they're all closed gardens, especially the consoles, just like Apple is. Epic just wants the full share of their money, and they want the Epic's game store instead of the App Store. But the reason people like the App Store is because you're paying Apple and then Apple pays the developer. It's secure, it's safe, it's trusted. You can have parental controls on it so your kid doesn't spend $6 billion on freaking Fortnite skins. Does the Epic Store have that on there? If you're bypassing Apple's payment system, will you still get those same protections as a customer?
You won't get no protection. Let me tell you something about
that's
Epic.
it.
They're trash.
Yes.
They're trash. They literally, I had someone come in and steal my Switch code, went in, bought like $140 worth of V-Bucks, and Epic, literally I could not get a hold of anybody to dispute it. Thank God PayPal gave me my money back. But like Epic was just like 2 weeks later, they're like,
we got our
take
money.
care of everything you needed? I'm like, you don't even talk to me. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so that's why in this, like I said before, this is Goliath versus Goliath. But guess what? Epic agreed to these store terms before they put Fortnite or any of their games on these platforms. Apple said, hey, if you want to put a game here, and Google said the same thing, if you want to put a game here, you give us 30%. Epic said, cool beans. And then they're saying suddenly, like, you know what? That's not cool beans anymore. But it's kind of like going into a Walmart and being like, hey, Walmart, Target here, we want to set up a Target store inside your Walmart store because we, and we're not going to give you any money for that. So it's like, you know what? If you want to be on their platforms, like play by their rules. Now,
it's not even
30%.
Like that. It's like this. It's like you have a Walmart store and Hanes is selling T-shirts online, and then they go, just go into the Walmart and pull it right off the shelf.
Right.
You don't pay them. You just go and you grab it off the shelf and walk out the door with it.
Right.
Like Walmart's going to be like, what? No, get out. Like, what are you crazy?
And Epic could easily get around this by saying, you know what, you can purchase V-Bucks on our website. And then you could, if they left it
actually,
in the App Store,
they won't allow them to do that, though. That's what they were doing. They were letting them buy their V-Bucks on their own store and bring it in. Apple said you can't do that.
No. They had it in the game. I checked it out. It was in the game as an option.
So because that's essentially what most companies are doing these days, like Comixology.
But
you don't buy things. You don't buy anything app. You go online. You can
right, but
it's
it's not in the app. Epic's was in the app itself.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's when you clicked on buy V-Bucks. I checked this out before it was all taken down. If you clicked on buy V-Bucks, it would say, okay, cool. Do you want to pay Apple's price? Or do you want to pay the lower Epic price and go through our payment method and do all this extra shit and give us your credit card instead of just using your iTunes account? It was very, very sketchy.
But did it actually, if you click the button, did it take you to Epic's website or what did it do?
No, it was built into the app.
That's dumb. That's dumb. They should have just said,
they knew
and it works.
This was so calculated by Epic. Yeah. They knew exactly what they were doing. They had the video ready. They had the lawsuits ready. This was so calculated. It's kind of disgusting. Now that being said, 30% is a wild like commission for these stores to take. And Apple is in the middle of antitrust lawsuits that, they've given special permissions to Amazon for Prime Video, and they've done this and they've done that. And like, no company is right here, but Epic isn't. Like, they're trying to be like, oh, free Fortnite, like, get on our side. This is Apple's bullying us. It's like, frig off. Like, you guys are the biggest game in the world. Like,
a couple things here.
Nobody's bigger than Apple. The Apple's worth $2 trillion. They're the biggest company.
$2 trillion. Yes. Okay.
So and Epic's worth $17 billion. So it is.
Right.
It is. Everybody is Samsung.
There's a couple of things here. Number one, just in case you don't know, Nintendo takes 40%. So they're even more. So that's number one. Number two, you have a situation where, dude, you own a store as well. How would you react if a company did this to you? Like, Epic Games does the same similar thing. Mm-hmm. So if one of those game companies did it, you'd be okay with it? No. Like, it's stupid. Like, you take a cut off of every single game that comes into your store. Why are you acting like so weird about this? Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. And the problem is that what they're trying to do is, and what they have the ability, because all these kids that love the game, they have a way to bully. But the thing is, is Fortnite even a thing anymore? Like, the player base has to be way down at this point, right?
Especially with Fall Guys. That's Fall Guys coming in and being like, yeah, guess what? We're going to do all this and put it towards charity is just such a, like, counterpoint to all of this. It's like corporate greed on one side with Apple, Google, Epic, all of these big companies. I'm not defending any of them because they want their money, whatever. Like Todd just said, Apple just hit the $2 trillion mark for the first time ever for an American company. Like, frig them all.
Yeah.
And then Fortnite or Fall Guys is over here like, we just want to give things to charity and be fun and have jelly bean people. And it's like, okay, if this company can do this, you guys can take your dick swinging match and stop making an army out of little 10-year-old kids that are still playing Fortnite. Like, that's the part that's pissing me off.
I will say Epic does put its money where its mouth is. They open their Epic store, and they only take a 12% cut.
Right.
So they are basically saying we want to give developers more of their money back. And
that's great.
And Amazon got a deal from Apple. They only have 15. They only take 15%. So 100%. I kind of feel it's one of those scenarios that, and maybe it should be opposite. If you're a small dev, why do you have to give 30%? I mean, that's like that's my rent money. Versus, so it seems like they're just really. And I will say this, yes, I totally get all these rationales, but I think this is all about being a duopoly. In that sense, that there's no way else to get your app on something. And the reason why they're going after Apple, because Apple, I guess developers make significantly more on Apple than they do on Google. So it's really, you go after the big guy.
Yeah.
So
but that's because it's so safe. It's so secure. You trust Apple with your credit card. I don't trust Epic with my credit card. I don't want them having my information. I'm super happy to just be like, here's my face ID. It's secure. It's good. I'll pay you. You can figure it out on the back end. Now, I agree 100%. 30% is a wild cut. I think that should be lowered. But I think also this isn't something that, again, they should be like militarizing these kids with the free Fortnite hashtag thing. Deal with this in courts. If you want to sue them, whatever, stop. It just feels so greasy the way Epic is going about it. And like I said, there's no winner here. There's only losers, and the losers are any of the kids that are playing Fortnite. And that's coming from someone that plays Fortnite every single night, basically, with my friends. But that's just because that's where we like to shoot the shit. And so that, like, this doesn't affect me because I'm playing on my Xbox One X. But I've mentioned that I like playing on my iPad because it's 120 frames per second. So this is affecting me in some way, but not completely limiting my access to the game. So
okay, so in theory, don't your V-Bucks follow you around from game to game though?
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
so whatever you buy
they're tied to
on
platform.
Nintendo.
Where you buy they are tied. Now, if you get them in Save the World mode, they can be platform agnostic. If you get them through the Battle Pass, again, platform agnostic. But if you buy them on Xbox, you don't have access to them on Nintendo Switch.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it is a pain in the ass for sure. But Epic could, again, fix all of this by taking it out of the App Store.
Absolutely.
They can take out this payment system. They can put it on a website and say, hey, if you want cheaper V-Bucks, go to Fortnite.com. Otherwise, you're paying 30% extra, and that's going to Apple.
Could they advertise it? Could they advertise it in the app, but not
in the game, not in the app, but they can advertise it on wherever. Like I saw the Fortnite teaser on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. They can advertise it anywhere else, just not in the game itself on the App Store. So I mean, there's so many ways about this.
So wait a minute. In theory, though, the items you purchase are cross-play.
Yep.
So why don't they just tell people, like, come to the Epic Store, buy your V-Bucks, buy your gear, and then you got it wherever?
Yep. Very easy to do.
Yeah, I think in a way, and you'll get the irony of this. Apparently, Epic did go to Apple to try to get a deal. It's
they're saying they haven't.
It's a hot mess.
Yeah, they're playing the victim here, saying like, oh, Apple's like doing, we never asked for special treatment. We're not asking for this. We just want it lowered for everyone. But apparently, they did ask for special treatment. So again, I'll reiterate: Google sucks, Epic sucks, Apple sucks. They're all just out to take your money. Like what you like, play where you want to, have whatever phone you want to, like whatever game you like. But in the end, these are all companies that are just trying to get your money. And this is a pissing match that should not involve the people who want to just play the friggin' game. So sign language, middle fingers to all of these people.
Calm down, Mr. Apple. Okay, calm down.
I'm an Apple fanboy. I
know you are.
Openly. But, and again, I will 100% defend Apple on this thing because they're saying, look, we're not giving you guys a special thing. Yes, we did it for Amazon. That's just for Prime. They're in the middle of a lawsuit for anti-competitive stuff. This could all be just blown up, but whatever. But all I'm saying is Epic is not. They're playing the underdog here, and they sure as shit aren't.
It's just very weird that we're feeling like any bit of empathy or sympathy for billion dollar, trillion dollar companies.
And that's it. I'm not feeling empathy or sympathy for any of these companies, but so many people are. And I really hope people smarten up, because I see people on these like forums and groups and everything else saying like, oh man, Apple just needs to smarten up. And it's like, you do know that Epic could just remove that extra payment system and you guys could still play on your freaking phones.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. That's my Comixology. I buy my comics on the on the web and I read them on the reader on my iPad. Yeah.
Exactly. They could do the exact same thing. And again, I just, it's pissing me off that Epic's like militarizing all these friggin' kids. But again, I'll go back to the argument that the xCloud Stadia stuff is completely stupid. Apple needs to change their rules. I'll never defend Apple on that decision. It's ridiculous. But for this one, I kind of understand their position.
Guess Google wins at least one way. They're going to get people to buy more Android devices.
God, yeah. Yeah, really.
Damn it.
It's crazy.
And I just bought an iPhone. Damn it. Oh, well. Something more fun. Nintendo had a event, guys. The event everybody was waiting for. It happened. We're so happy. And no, it didn't.
It was still a good event.
It was good. It was a good event.
We're getting blue balls here, waiting for something. I think. Listen, you have three companies playing chicken. Whoever blinks first, the other two companies are going to come out with their stuff. That's all it is. They're all waiting. They're not showing what they have. None of them really had an E3. They were all just like nonsense. Mm-hmm. So I think they're all just sitting back and waiting. And when they finally unload, it's going to be, a hot, sticky mess. So, for carrying that forward.
Obviously, I had to.
With your little fingers.
The thing for me is,
oh, mercy.
But I think this was a good event.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good games that came out of it. I was like, this is pretty awesome. You know, I was a lot of surprises that came out of that, and I was like, this is pretty awesome. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any games stand out to anyone?
Bobby, go ahead.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
I have a
start.
game that I recommend that Bobby should get, though.
What's
I think
that?
it's right up his Spirit Fair.
Yes.
Looks awesome.
What's the one? Is that the one with what's the one with the bird?
That's the short hike or whatever.
Okay, so that one
just
looked
mentioned.
cool. I wanted to check that out.
Yeah, that's the one I just said that Jules.
I don't know the name. The problem is that you don't really know these games because they're not like big developers. You know what I mean? Yeah. The one thing that really I got to tell you, man, the one thing that's kind of has me, and it's obvious to me that this was a Damon Baker leaving Nintendo thing, is the fact that Image and Form seems like they're leaving and they're going to Xbox. I know for a fact that Brian from Image and Form, the CEO, is friends with Damon Baker. I know for a fact that at conventions they would just sneak off kind of and have dinners and stuff together privately. So they're friends. And when Damon left Nintendo, I immediately in the back of my head thought like this might be trouble for Nintendo in terms of using them. And it seems to be that's the way it's going to be. Because they never put games on Xbox.
Yeah.
It was
especially not in a showcase like they did with the last one, and to have nothing on this showcase, that is quite telling.
The only thing, and the other thing that bothers me, it doesn't bother me, it is what it is, but Zoink doesn't really necessarily lay into these things that much anymore, in terms of like for Nintendo. But they're doing these big, crazy, creative games. Like Klaus, I just talked to him yesterday. He messaged me, we were talking, and they're working with EA now. They're doing a lot of work with EA, but they're just doing these big, epic games that are just like they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and so it's awesome to see these small indie developers that 5 years ago when we were starting, Mark. You know what I mean? It's you see them now, and it's just like this is craziness.
Yeah, we were like the first podcast to have Zoink on, I think, on the Warp Whistle, and now they're like this. Yeah, they're working with EA and doing these big showcases and stuff. And me and Barry played Zombie Vikings together.
Zombie Vikings with Klaus.
Yeah.
On PlayStation, and then we get the first exclusive look at Faye.
Yeah.
When that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and I won that code from you, Bobby, for Zombie Vikings. And it's a great game, and I hope that gets ported eventually to other systems.
I don't think it will.
They talked about the online code, I think, for Switch was the big hang up.
They were having a problem with the Switch. They couldn't get it to work.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's
Yeah, for this showcase though, going back to that, I think really there were so many games that stood out to me. Subnautica, Raji, and Ancient Epic looked really cool. Looks
great. Yeah.
Torchlight 3 is a big fan of the first Torchlight.
So
such a good game.
That looked really,
such a good
really
game.
good. Yeah, that looked amazing.
Yeah, they brought back animals, which is great. That was one of my favorite things. Basically, Diablo having to go back and sell your stuff, but this is you send your animal with all your stuff. So much fun.
Yeah. Inmost, I think, just hit the shop today. Looks super cool. That's the one kind of looks like a 8 or 16-bit, what is it? Like creepy, dark kind of, I don't know, puzzle platform kind of thing. Anyway, it looks really, really cool. Like I said, I picked up a short hike based on Jules' recommendation. I've also heard really good things of Takeshi and Hiroshi, where you're a brother making a game for another brother. So I think like you play a bit of them talking, and then you play the game that you're making or something like that. It looks really cool. I've heard some cool stuff. There were some games that just don't shine for me. If anyone has missed Grindstone on Apple Arcade, do not miss that game. So good. I'm guessing that's going to be a touch first kind of game, so you're going to play that undocked. But I guess it could probably work on a TV but that game was so good on iOS. It was really like one of the standouts of Apple Arcade. So Grindstone is amazing. But yeah, that kind of stood out for me for sure. Spiritfarer was one that I was like, I can't wait to play this. This looks like a Nintendo Switch game, and then it hit Game Pass. So I was like,
absolutely.
Maybe it's not a Switch game.
$30 or play for free on Xbox Game Pass.
Yep.
There was a lot of
very easy decision.
A lot of timed exclusives as well.
Yeah.
Which actually shocked me because that's not normally Nintendo. Nintendo doesn't normally get timed exclusives.
They really came out swinging with that and like really made it evident, because even if something is a timed exclusive with Nintendo, a lot of time they wouldn't say it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be as outright with it. They're taking an Xbox kind of thing of like world premiere. Like that's console basically the vibe I got from it. Yeah. So it was cool to see them kind of swinging that a little bit with the indies. I really thought this was a great indie showcase. Now, it wasn't what we wanted with a big Nintendo Direct, but for what it was, I thought this was an excellent show.
Yeah, nothing really like said, "Wow, look at me! This is like fantastic." A lot of these games have been on other platforms before too, so I'm familiar with a lot of these games. And I will say, I did see one thing that was very funny. People who bought, I think Hades, though, that's a console launch. The game looks awesome.
That looks good.
It looks sick.
Yeah, that's by Supergiant Games, I think. They do so many good games. Yeah. The one thing that I laughed at, and it was somebody from the collector's physical side, Untitled Goose Game added co-op, which is very cool. But somebody was so upset that this is now not going to be on their physical game cartridge. I'm like, guy, this is like... This is the reality of games now. If you want games to be improved over time, you don't want them to be like never changing. So I'm sorry if your physical release now doesn't have everything, but it was just an odd sense of like, that's cool. It's being added, and that should not be something that's a sad release.
It's not like that game's
two gooses are worse than one, right?
If you live in the woods and you don't have access to the internet to download this DLC, like, drive into the city or walk into the city, go to the library, get the free Wi-Fi, download the 500 megabyte patch or whatever this is going to end up being, because I can't imagine it being huge for this game.
Can we be real for a minute here?
And seriously, just get over it.
If you don't have the internet to download this game, you probably don't have the internet to even watch the thing to begin with. So you don't even know what's happening in the world.
True.
So it's fun.
No, that wasn't they were upset, though, that their physical cartridge that they will love and put on a shelf now is less than the digital. Of course.
Which is but it's not like 99.9% of the games today.
Absolutely.
So. It's not like Control, where if you bought Untitled Goose Game physical, you're not going to get this upgrade. No. You're still going to get it. It's just not going to be on the actual in the card. It's going to be part on your memory card. But, there's a way to do this right, and there's a way to do it wrong. Control's doing it wrong, in my opinion, but Goose Game, geez,
I got news for you. I got this game called Animal Crossing, and the cartridge that it came with, guess what?
It's completely different.
That's a totally different game by the time you get in there. So
I don't remember the last game I bought physical. Oh, legit.
What was that Nintendo game? Was it Twilight Princess or one of them where the game had a bug and you had to send your game back to get it fixed?
That was Other M.
Okay, was
Other
it Other
M?
M? Okay.
Yeah, it was Other M. If you went in through one way if you went into a room, if you didn't continue to the next room, if you backed up and went in backwards, you could not move forward. You were stuck and locked, and you would have to send your save, your save stick, your memory card into Nintendo. They would fix it and then send it back to you.
Well, maybe that's we need a service limited run games will update your physical game.
Limited run games will send you a box of tissues to cry into. You send your game over to
I love it. This is awesome.
Fantastic.
You know what I don't like though? Games getting delayed and affecting a launch. This is kind of sad because Halo Infinite is delayed now into 2021. We don't have a real date, which is kind of interesting to me. They originally were going to patch the game eventually anyways with ray tracing, some different things. So, but this is due to the fact that they said the game is not ready and they want to have time to work on it. They said COVID is part of this. They don't want to have crunch. So I totally respect all of those pieces. The concern I have is at this point, Series X is feeling more like the One X launch, where it's iterative console without any real games that really said this is what this console is going to mean for Xbox. It just means this is a box that's going to play things better. But it's not really saying this will have a statement game that makes Series X kind of – so in a way, I'm like, I feel bad for the people that are getting Series X day one because they don't have something in their back pocket that says this is why you get a Series X. If you're saying it's because my old games will play better, that's a weak statement, I would say.
I said this to Sean on one of the Cup of Joes of Nintendo's. I'm like, I don't understand why Sony and Xbox just are not pushing off this launch.
Mm-hmm. No one's been impressive.
No, but it's like you're looking at this date that you have preset of holiday. Like, dude, just delay the console.
Yeah.
Just tell people we have an issue with COVID. We don't want to give you a console with no games attached to it. We need more time.
Yeah.
I really don't think that people would be – I mean, I'm sure they'd be disappointed. But, like, at the end of the day, you're looking at this and you have your major game, the game that everybody was going to buy for this console, is now missing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why you have to continue to – it's almost like you're driving a car and the wheels are falling off and you're like, I'm not letting off the gas.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep on going. Like, no, you got to stop, man.
Yeah, I agree with you on like I said, no one's been impressive so far to sell me like why I need this new shiny box. Now, that being said, I want an Xbox Series X at launch. That's my intention for the fall. But I also think that in a way, if you're completely buying into what Xbox seems to want to approach this next generation as, it's almost like just upgrading your graphics card in your PC. They're not looking at this next generation as here's why you should upgrade. Here's the only way to get this game, the only way to play this next game, the only way to see this showcase of graphical amazingness. They're not doing that. They're like Sony has a whole lot to prove on that field. Mm-hmm. Xbox so far is saying, hey, look, if you want the shiniest, prettiest thing that's going to play your old games, going to be the best way to play Game Pass, going to eventually play these new games, yeah, Series X is the way to go. Cool. If you don't want Series X, here's a bunch of other options, and your current stuff's going to still play for a year or two. Like, Xbox kind of seems like they just don't care anymore.
No, because Series X to them is, I believe that if they didn't have to do Series X, they wouldn't.
Yeah.
For them, I feel like Series X is basically a home computer for people that don't want to have a PC. They don't want to, like, they just want their box to play their stuff. But with them putting all their stuff on the computer, on PC, and then backwards, they're just basically going like, pick what you can afford and play the games.
Exactly.
That's all we're doing. They don't even, I think that they are checked out of the arms race that is hardware. They don't really care, in my opinion. They are just basically, we're going to produce games and let the best man win. Yeah. And we're just going to put out the best games we can. But the problem is what games do they have that are really blowing people away?
Yeah, I will say, until there is a Game Pass app on every screen, every device, internet speeds are great, it's flawless, they still need boxes. And at this point, Xbox hardware is not selling at a fast enough pace to get the growth they need. So they need new news, and that's why companies do this. New news sells things. They can't keep selling Xbox One S because people stopped caring about that box a long time ago. Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking Series S is really the most that's the most important piece of hardware they have, because to get a gaming PC is expensive. So they're in the Series X camp. So Series S, where it's new news, new hardware, it's probably $300 or whatever. That's going to be where they can play, and they can play hard because they can say, look what we're launching against, and we're the same price as a Nintendo Switch, but look at our games. Look at Game Pass. It's a value equation that just plays out, which is where Xbox is going. Exactly. So, but I do feel like they still have to play in the arms race of a box, because right now we know xCloud isn't available on 50% of the mobile devices you own.
Yeah,
it,
really.
it may never get there, which if it never gets there, that's a huge obstacle. And that's
But I guess what I'm getting at, Todd, is like you don't have to even buy an Xbox One X. You could just hook up your computer and play all those games on the computer. So,
but you still need a good enough computer to play. You still need gaming.
I know that. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's where the box comes into play. But like I don't even need to upgrade. I could just play my Xbox One X. You know, I don't need to get the Series X. I don't. You know, like if I have a gaming computer, what's the reason I'm buying an Xbox One X? Makes no sense.
That's why I'm not. I have an Xbox One X and I have a gaming PC. Yeah. I'm curious though, because Microsoft has never talked about that. What is the growth of Game Pass on PC? Because that is a market that they can go into because they have a wide range to fill that. If they're not talking about that, that tells me it's not growing that fast.
Yeah.
Because that's something they would definitely talk about. And like now they talked about growth and the growth is growing, but eventually they're going to slow. And they need a new revenue to fill that. And like I said, a console is still the easiest way to do it. You can advertise because not everybody's going to buy a gaming PC. So I think that's where they need to go to really fill that gap. And they can definitely take on PS5 with that, saying, look at what we've got. We've got an option. They've got two options, but ours is $200 cheaper, and it'll play all your games and look great on your TV. So yeah.
I think Sean talked about this on the Xbox Drive. I think they mentioned like, now is the time for Xbox to start swinging their stuff around, you know, like, yes, their big game fell through. So this is the time to go out and get Cyberpunk on Game Pass. So he gives Badbit has to give him $50 or whatever. But that's the kind of thing, you know, go to WB, get the next Batman game, get those exclusive, get those things. This is the time for Microsoft to go, you know what? We were going to spend X amount of $1 million pumping out Halo ads this fall. No, now we're going to funnel that into third-party games. This is the best place to play X game, whether it's Cyberpunk, this, that, whatever. This is the best place to play, you know, Call of Duty. It might be too late for a lot of these. What we're hearing is Sony has already gone in and they've thrown their cash around and they've gotten these exclusive deals. Hopefully there's still something for Microsoft to take advantage of. But they kind of have to go back to the old way of thinking where, again, they seem to have moved on.
They're done.
They don't care. It's almost, again, back to Apple. They don't care if you get an iPhone SE, an iPhone 11, an iPhone 11 Pro, whatever. They don't care what hardware you're using as long as you're getting games in the App Store or getting whatever.
They are killing everybody just because of games with service. They are crushing everybody because of that. They don't have to have the best games and this, that, and the other. Like, they just got to be able to fill that library with enough games for people to go, like, I'm going to give you $15 to $20 a month.
That's it.
That's it. And it's a home run for them. And that's something that Sony's not doing. Like, you think about it, like, you pay Sony whatever, $70 a year, but like you get a couple of garbage games, a week. Occasionally, once every 5 years, you get a Fall Guys. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting Last of Us again for like the umpteenth time. Like, it's not a good value. Yeah. Nintendo with their $20 a year, like, it's not the greatest value. You know what I mean? Like, so it is what it is at this point. Like, but I think when you look at with Game Pass, like, that's a solid service that, like, that's what they're focused on developing. It's like Microsoft is not a dumb company. They're in everybody's house. They own you across the board. Like, right now we're using Skype to do this call. They own Skype. Like, like every single thing you touch, they have their hands on. And they're basically taking the Windows, the Excel, and that type of model and going, like, we're just going to license it all around. Let everybody touch it. And guess what? We're going to make money hand over fist just by licensing it out.
Exactly.
They're not dumb.
And if you want to buy, arguably, or depending on your opinion, but the Surface products, Microsoft produced, really, really well-engineered, well-produced Windows, PCs, tablets, whatever, those kind of things. If you want to buy that for the Microsoft experience, cool. If not, build your own PC, get a Dell, get an HP, get whatever the hell you want, but you're still paying the Microsoft thing. Like you said, you're still subscribing to Office 365.
Office 365 on your Macintosh.
Right. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you are. And that's Microsoft's new approach to gaming is we don't care where you're playing. Just pay us our $15 a month.
Yeah.
And that's the whole crux of this argument is I personally want the Series X so my games play and look better. But that's the same reason that I'm also holding an iPhone 11 Pro right now. I could have gotten the 11, but I felt like getting the Pro just to have that extra little, I liked the extra camera. You know, I wanted that extra little thing. And if you're a tech geek, you always have that little thing that you want the iPad Pro instead of the iPad. You want top of the line phone or the top of the line TV. You see that across. We're all guilty of that in one way or another, whether it's PCs, TVs, game systems, whatever. But yeah, they definitely, I think they need the games to back it up for the traditional kind of gamer. Yeah. But for that other kind, if you're in their mindset, I'm worried that that's the only way that they're seeing this now is, well, we don't care about the games because you're still giving us $15 a month.
Yeah. And I do want to say, at least getting back to the Halo Infinite delay, I do want to call out that I do worry about 343 a little bit. Mm-hmm. They had to basically create a new game with a new engine on multiple platforms. They've never had to do that before. The heavy lifting is hard, but they've also had almost 6 years to make this game. Yeah. So I worry, and apparently a lot of their folks left a year ago. That were part of the creative team of making this game. I do worry that maybe 343 is not the studio that is really necessary to make Halo go to the next level. They've had one good game from a campaign perspective. They've had good multiplayer, but ultimately multiplayer only gets you so far. It's when it's Halo. And maybe that's where we look and say if they don't nail this, and this is supposed to be a 10-year platform supposed to grow, maybe this isn't the right studio. They took over from Bungie, and they've had this. They've almost had Halo as long as Bungie has now. Yeah, and that's a tough nut to crack. Taking something over like that, maybe that was just too much to ask to take. I mean, how many other studios completely give their baby to another developer and say, "Have fun with that"?
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to do. So I feel bad for him.
I mean, it really worked out for Other M.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, that's not an enviable position to be in, especially if the team left. Then you're picking up. A lot of us, I'm sure, have had that job where you walked in and the person that had the job before you left things in absolute chaos. I know I've had a couple of those jobs where it's just like, what the hell was this person thinking? Yeah. I'm going to spend the first 6 months of this job learning the job, and then I'm going to spend the next 6 months undoing all the shit that this idiot left me with. Like, that's so you could have legitimately a year of development time. I'm not saying that all the people that left 343 are idiots or any of the people that coming in are geniuses, but having to pick up other people's stuff and figure out where they left off and figure out the problems and take other people's problems from a midpoint is never an enviable position. So this game, could be. I really hope they pull some gold out of it. But too. I am worried that it might be, like you said, just kind of a little bit too much. It's got that Duke Nukem syndrome of it's been in development too long. It's passed over too many hands. It's a little doomed from the start.
Definitely. Last news really quick. DC Fandom is kicking off. Well, when you listen to this, it's already pretty much done. But Bobby, you love the Arkham games. You love Rocksteady. Did you like Arkham Origins?
I wasn't a huge fan of it. Not gonna lie, wasn't a huge fan of it because I felt it was very. It was harder when you would get into when you battle cops and stuff and get into them crowds. That that was ramped up. But then the other problem was when you got into boss battles, it got very quick time, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, storyline, I up to the point that I played was really good. But
yeah, it's a great story. And I just got the DLC for Steam because I heard the DLC is fantastic. So I started playing that. It's the Penguin versus Two-Face, I believe.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, or no, Mr. Freeze versus Penguin. Very fun. But actually, fun fact, I played that game on the Wii U and loved it. So I thought it was great on the Wii U. So.
I will say this. I will say this. When the new Arkham game hits, that would be the game that would make me buy an Xbox. Okay. That'll be the game that makes me buy an Xbox. Because I want it with what has the most ass behind it. And Xbox is going to crush PS5. So that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah. So the reason I bring this up is because WB Montreal has a panel at DC Fandom, and they have been teasing this game for like 3 years. But I think obviously got held back. They've been doing more teasing. The expected game that's going to be released is called, I think, Arkham Knight. Oh, no, what's it called? DC. I can't remember the name of the game that they've rumored it to be. And it is going to be apparently a retelling of the Court of Owls and incorporate and bring in actually the Batman family.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. Deals with the Bat family, and that has me amped. But that's not Rocksteady. That's WB Montreal.
Absolutely. WB Montreal. Rocksteady is doing the Suicide Squad game.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's both. I'm in for both. Yeah. I'll definitely give it a shot because I think if WB's smart, they would have paid attention to what the complaints were with Origins and hopefully worked on them and fixed them.
Yeah. And I think with Origins, they were, again, one of those studios that it's like, okay, well, pick up what this other studio did and do this. And there's a whole bunch of corporate mandate of we need a game every release. It's the Assassin's Creed syndrome.
That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to go
too quick, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was. So I think given more time, giving a little bit more creative freedom, I have full faith in WB Montreal. The name of this one that you were trying to think of is Batman Gotham Knights. Is the rumored thing. Court of Owls, I've already stated numerous times on the show that I'm a big fan of that storyline, and I think giving the Bat family a little bit of love in this game could be really badass. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah.
They are teasing, based on their website, this weird AR game that they're doing. They've teased Two-Face as being a villain in this game.
Okay, let's real talk. How can I watch this thing?
DC Fandom, go to the website, dcfandom.com, and Bobby, you can actually create yourself a schedule to watch all the things, because there's going to be a panel for each one of the DC movies. So we know Flash is going to be there. We know Wonder Woman is going to be there. We know Shazam is going to be there. Right. The Rock is going to be there for Black Adam. All of the DC shows will be there. And then there's 2 video game panels. So
Sweet.
There's going to be comics, TV.
That's badass.
You can stop talking, Tom. We're good.
Yeah, that's badass. I'm looking forward to Fandom, man, for sure. This is going to be fun.
Definitely.
What do you guys think about them splitting it into 2? I know this is probably Secret Friends territory, but what do you think about the splitting it into 2 shows?
Well, I will tell you why they're doing it. So the second show actually is just all of the content from this, and you can watch it on demand.
Oh.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
Really? I thought it was like they're splitting the news into 2 different things. Oh, that's disappointing then.
That's all it is. Okay. So because there's so much going on, they basically, some people may not be able to watch it, so it's basically a way to then create your own little schedule and watch whatever you want. Yeah,
I was really excited. I didn't realize that because I was really excited to be like, oh, so sweet. That's like, double the DC goodness. I really thought we were going to get just a whole bunch of stuff. But hey, that's still good if you can't, because I know I'm not going to get time to watch this all as it's coming out. Not a chance. Yeah. So if I can watch it on demand or whatever at my own pace, that's good.
Yeah, this is all live. There will be encore stuff tomorrow as well. You can catch it later, but if you want to watch it on demand, that's when you can watch it later. So there you go.
All right.
Yeah. So lastly, bonus round. We're going to do a quick round. Mark, as we approach the launch of these systems and whenever Nintendo does next, I thought we could look back at console war memories. And so I've got to say, I think even though Bobby and I are ancient, nobody remembers what was going on at the time of the NES. It was only the NES.
What are you talking about? Nobody. I remember, dude. Stop.
Well, I do too, Bobby.
You know why? Because
years of podcasts
because Nintendo stomped the Master System. That's why. They stomped a mud hole in them and sent Sega walking home crying.
Bobby, people didn't even know the Master System existed. I had one neighbor that had a Master System.
I had no idea that existed back in the day. Yeah.
The fact of the matter is this. The Master System was actually better than NES.
Hardware-wise.
Graphically,
100%.
hardware, everything was really good. The problem was it just nobody liked it. They were like,
you want to play Alex Kidd?
Yeah. The thing is the problem is that it was one of those situations where, typical Sega, we're not getting a foothold. Let's just ramp up and go to the next gen and start over. So
yep.
Their only real true success, I think, was the Sega Genesis. But go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, so basically NES soundly won. 60 million consoles, revived the console industry as a whole because they tricked parents into thinking the NES was some type of computer system with a robot and a zapper. So that's all good. So they tricked them. They were hugely successful. Really, I mean, Mario was everywhere. It was great. Kids were insane. I bought my NES off my neighbor who got it from a thrift store. So that's how I got my NES, and I loved it. But then we moved on to the next gen, and this is where I started dating chicks in high school. So I stopped kind of caring about video games for a while. So I was kind of out of the loop. And the only way I got to play video games, I rented – this is how old I am too. I rented video game systems from a video rental store.
Shit, okay.
And I was equal opportunity. I rented the Genesis. I rented the SNES. So I played both. I was pan console.
Man, okay, so we got a little age gap going because I remember – renting like the N64 and the Dreamcast, that generation.
Okay.
When it came to this generation, it was, kind of like, and I grew up with NES, and I remember getting the Super Nintendo, and I remember my friends having Genesis, but it was just like one of those things that like your parents just kind of bought you. So I think I'm like a generation under you guys. So I'll let you guys maybe take the reins on this, and I'll recount my own memories. Obviously, I was a Super Nintendo kid. I've been a Nintendo guy my whole life. I did like what Genesis was doing, and they had a couple of games that was like, oh, that's a little edgier. Like, Genesis, Sega does what Nintendo don't, kind of marketing shit. But overall, I mean, Super Nintendo's a winner here, I think. But since you guys are a little bit more mature when these came out, what are your memories?
Well, and I did read the Console Wars book that recounted this, which brought a lot of the things I didn't know about at the time. All the figureheads and everybody that was behind the scenes doing this. It was kind of crazy learning about it. If you guys haven't read it, the audiobook's great. I heard they're going to make it into a movie, so it's very fun. SNES versus Genesis. But yeah, I mean, Genesis was just, to me, it was exciting. It was a new player. All these new franchises. I remember seeing Sonic for the first time and going, oh my God, this is so fast and so cool and different. And they brought a lot of new franchises to the table, a lot of RPGs and things I had never heard before. Cyberball, which is a robots playing football. Love that. Really enjoyed it. But then I also played the SNES, and I really enjoyed what they brought to the table in regards to the way things sounded. The sound was fantastic. What was it, the Mode 8 or whatever they called that?
Mode 7, yeah.
Mode 7, where you had like F-Zero, where the screen would move differently. Super Castlevania looked different. But and like I said, I rented both, so I got to play all of these and had fun. But I really didn't really get to play them as much as I wanted. But I do remember that Genesis obviously took the lead at the beginning because they launched before Nintendo did, so they got to do that. So yeah. So Bobby, I know you have more history with the SNES, but did you have any experience or had neighbors with the Genesis?
I owned a Genesis.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So I had the Super Nintendo. While the NES was around and the Sega Genesis hit, I didn't mess with the Genesis. I got a Super Nintendo for Christmas one year, and I had the Super Nintendo for about 3 years. And then what I started to realize was that, like, we were getting a situation where games, what we were talking about earlier, games were exclusive to certain consoles. You had different versions of Lion King, different versions of Aladdin. You had all these different things that were happening across the board. Like, I felt like Madden was better on the Sega Genesis. I felt like, everything was kind of better on the Genesis in terms of sports games. You had Joe Montana talking football, and there was all these different things they were doing that were ahead of the time. The NHL games, all the EA sports. So I was a huge sports fan. So the sports games I would predominantly get for the Sega Genesis, but the Marios and all that stuff, like they killed, they killed Sega when it came to that stuff. So for me, I was all on board on that stuff, and that's where I basically predominantly went and stayed. So I feel like, though, personally, I feel like the Super Nintendo destroyed Sega. I think it killed the Genesis, and there wasn't, and a lot of it just had to do with they had far superior first-party games. Mm-hmm. They just literally trounced them, and to me that was the be-all end. Like they had a huge RPG. Like that's when the RPG revolution started. You had Final Fantasy II, Final Fantasy III, which was 4 and 6 in the actual timeline. You had Chrono Trigger. You had Secret of Mana. You had all these great games. They actually brought Earthbound in, and then when they basically got to the end of the life cycle, and you thought, okay, we've squeezed all the juice out of this things we can. Here comes Donkey Kong Country with this Silicon Graphics like polygon effect to it, which today still looks pretty awesome, as it goes. Mm-hmm. And then they do Super Mario World 2, which is Yoshi's Island, and that whole Mode 7 looks like kid graphics. And so they really just, I feel like, to me personally, I feel like the Super Nintendo is the best console ever. Like in terms of like quality of games, library, quality of the library, that to me is the best console ever to exist. So for me, I think that they destroyed the Genesis. Genesis had a good run. Genesis had a great run, and they almost did, but Nintendo was just too powerful for them at that point.
Yeah, it was interesting. I looked at the sales numbers. They're pretty close. I mean, it was similar to Xbox 360 versus PS3, where Xbox 360 had the huge league at the beginning, and PS3 was like the tortoise that finally caught up at the end and finally passed them. SNES did the same thing. They basically, the quality and the way they lasted and really where Genesis, once again, dropped the ball. They tried too many things, and this is the fun part. So in college, this is when I was in college. It was Genesis versus SNES, kind of towards the end of the life. This is like 93 through 97. And I remember when one of my dorm friends got a videotape in the mail, and it was for Donkey Kong Country. It was like a videotape. I don't know, Bobby, did you get that videotape?
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. I'm like,
if you had Nintendo Power, they'd send it to you.
I'm like, what is this game? And it's like, it looks so cool, and it was so neat. And at the same time, Killer Instinct was at the arcade.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that logo for like the Mega 64 or whatever it was, Ultra 64. So I'm like, man, Nintendo's really getting this momentum going with Silicon Graphics, and I think that's how they started with Donkey Kong Country, doing that. So, but on the other hand, my roommate had a Sega Genesis CD system with classics like Sewer Shark. I mean,
Sega had that problem of like really cool tech, and I remember a similar friend of mine had the Sega CD attachment, but it was like, yeah, that's really cool. It looks really pretty. It's doing stuff that the Super Nintendo just can't touch. But what are the games? Where are the games?
Stoker's Dracula by Sony. Come on. Batman was it Batman Returns? I think it was the Batman Returns game was totally horrible. The Spider-Man game, which was an up-res Genesis game. Come on, Mark. Then they decided, hey, you know what's even better? Take that Sega CD, then let's give you a 32X so we can give that thing more power, pop it on top. It's even better, so you can have less games that people will want to play. It was just
put out like 9 games.
Everyone loves sandwiches.
Absolutely.
It was like 9 games for the 32X. That's where Sega lost the war, because to me it was like, you don't have enough confidence in your console to stick and ride with it. Where Nintendo's like, this is what we have and this is what we're doing. Yeah. Where I'm messing with CD drives and all that stuff, and they had a valid point. At that time, it made no sense to play a game on a CD and play with load times when I could literally take a cartridge, pop it in, and just play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the load times were bad back then.
Oh yeah.
So that was what kept me away from Sega CD and all that. So I was like, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Even going into the next generation, N64, you got those bad load times. So even like a generation earlier to that, can you imagine how bad the load times for anyone that can't remember that? Like, imagine how bad they were in the N64. The following generation, and then you'll get a sense of how terrible it was back there.
Yeah. So I mean, it was really. That was the beginning of the console wars in the biggest sense. Yeah. The marketing, the back and forth. There was no kumbaya, as you would say, Bobby.
No, man.
It was difficult, and even like as we talked about, like changing policies. Nintendo used to have a no return policy. It was funny because they talked about this, and basically Nintendo then had to change some of their policies because of what Sega did. So it was that ultimately what console wars do, and I think we'll see this as a trend as we talk about this, Mark. It's good for the business because what it does is if you have one dominant figure, like NES, when they had their ways, basically they said, you can only put 5 games out on your label a year or whatever. So then people had to create – it basically stopped people from
AA Studios.
Games. Yeah, well, you'll see this in
they did that, and they did that because of the Atari. That's what killed the Atari 2600 and all of it. That's what killed the video game market was these games were coming out. Like, dude, they had, like, Hawaiian Punch put out a game. Like
Kool-Aid.
The Kool-Aid. That's what
I thought you were gonna say Cool Spot there. I was gonna come straight through the screen. Don't talk bad about Cool Spot.
That's trash too. But anyway,
Bobby,
shut your face.
Swear to God.
Anyway, the point is that like, so what Nintendo did was they were like, you can only put out 5 games per year. But then like Konami started Ultra, and they were putting out games under the Ultra label as well as the Konami label, and it's pretty cool to like see how it all worked out in the end. But like that was like people act like revisionist history looks at it and go like, oh, they were so harsh. Dude, they had to be. They had to be very strict to make sure that if people were sitting there going like, we're telling your parents to buy this game, you got the seal of approval on it, it's a good game. It's not this garbage that Atari like was churning out. Like E.T. It took them 2 months to make E.T. The game was trash. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the game as a kid, and I played it. But, like, looking back now, I'm like, this game, what the hell is this game all about? This is stupid, Yeah. So,
and you look at the eShop now, and it's so full of shovelware.
God.
And it's like, I kind of wish, maybe not as bad as they used to be.
I remember a certain guru saying Nintendo is going to curate this store. Look what they're bringing out, and it's like
I didn't say they were going
give us our money.
They should.
I said they should.
You said I'll defend you on that one for sure.
Because everyone's like, they're only going to put 20 games a week, and it's all going to be great. Now it's 40 games, and But it is kind of fun to look back at these things and see how they changed. I mean, considering how I started with my gaming systems, it was the Atari 5200. Talk about a trash system. That is one of the worst systems in the world. I'm just happy we got what we've got, and I'm amazed what we got.
The 78 was no better.
Oh, no, the 78 was 100.
78 was bare. The only good thing about the 7800 was you could play 2,600 games on it.
Yes.
But then they put out like 5 games. It was like, okay, we're done. We're out. And I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yes. So we will talk about the future of Atari in the next edition of Console Wars. So that is it for the podcast. Man, oh man, this is one of our longest, but this has been fun. I love having a guest, and he's always got some fun things to talk about. So Bobby, before we leave, tell people how they can check you out on the internet.
Listen, this is what I would like people to do. Don't worry about anything else I do on the internet. Just go to twitch.tv/Nintendo Gurus. We have just reached the partner level where we filled out the application, and we're just waiting for Twitch to come back and say yay or nay. So hopefully Twitch will give us the green light and we can become partner with them. But it is probably the greatest accomplishment that I've had in all of content creating. Like, it is so much fun to do. But we're on Twitter. We're on we got a Discord, Yumi Capri. Twitter, it's at Nintendo Gurus. Podcast galore. It's all over the place. NintendoGuru.com. You can check it all out, wherever you want to do.
And since Bobby's being modest, I'm going to plug the rest of your stuff. Because, yes, go follow him on Twitch. It's amazing. I am so happy to see you with all the success on Twitch, but you do so much content with the Yumi Capri stuff that it is worth throwing $1 to you guys on Patreon. Come at me. You guys produce so much great stuff between you and Sean, all the partnerships that you guys have. Xbox Drive is my favorite Xbox podcast, and they've been having great success as well. So head over to there. Bobby won't plug it. I will. Yumi Capri on Patreon, or just all over the internet. Follow them everywhere. They produce a staggering amount of quality content, and they're always changing it up. It's amazing to see you guys.
The best thing I ever told Sean to do was to bring on Ryan Turford to the Xbox Drive. That dude is amazing.
He's great.
Their chemistry is fantastic. Yeah, they are a power duo that rivals you and Sean, which is
amazing.
Saying something, because you guys are amazing. So, you guys produce some of my favorite stuff on the internet. So,
thank you very much.
Go check them out.
I have a dissent though.
Here we go.
Bobby used to do a podcast called If We Ran Nintendo, because he thought he fixed Nintendo. And my favorite part was
he did. They
troll him. I used to troll him. I used to be the official troll of that. I used to get to ask questions. They don't take questions on Cup of Joe Nintendo.
No.
So I really am disappointed in you,
No.
Bobby.
Listen, there's a reason. It's supposed to be two guys sitting in the coffee shop talking. That's all it is. There's no need for questions. Sean will say, man, I really want questions. Well, then, Sean, take him on the Xbox Drive, because I don't want him over here. This is just me and you hanging out, having some conversation.
We get to ask all our questions on the Pants Patreon podcast for patrons podcast.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. But I just want to be your angry barista who just harasses you and gets your orders wrong.
Here's the thing. There is the talk of a one-off live If We Ran Nintendo, just a one-off shot of If We Ran Nintendo, how we would have ran 2020.
I likes it.
So I think that it's a good possibility that'll be happening in the next couple weeks.
Excellent. Well, Mark, tell people how they can follow us.
Well, you can follow us at co_op_mode_pod or Toxtra or the_Canardian, all on Twitter. You can follow us on the Facebook group and page Secret Friends Unite. Look those up. Very fun and very active groups for all things nerd, not just video games. But if you want to talk specific video games, you can always tweet at us, or even better, call the hotline. We'll feature you on the show, 872-225-2496. Leave us a little voicemail, and you could win a fantastic prize, including Round Guard for Xbox One. Leave us an iTunes review for that one as well if you're a little bit voice shy. But the best way is the hotline. You can give us a topic, a review, whatever it is. Tell us off for 3 minutes or less, whatever you want to do, but you could be entered to win that, and we'll feature it on the show, as long as it's not incredibly profane filled. So, Bobby, I'm sad to say that excludes you from being able to call into the show, because I know you'd leave a profane riddled voicemail for the both of us.
Thanks.
Well, I do have good news, Mark. My son has said he wants to call in a review of Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, fantastic. Is he going to use our specific rating system?
Yes, we talked about that.
Co-op Mode Pod. Perfect. So if anyone is new to the show, we have a rating system that is based on my experience in the hospital when my son was born, and how good contraband chicken nuggets taste when they're snuck into a hospital that you're not allowed to order food out of during COVID. So we have a 6 chicken nugget based rating system, because 6-pack chicken nuggets are the way to go. So yeah, there we go. So leave your review out of 6 contraband chicken nuggets. If you really want to include a dipping sauce flavor, you could give it 4 chicken nuggets out of 6, but it does have a little bit of honey on the side. So
what the hell is even happening?
If you have to ask,
Todd, get control, man. What are you doing over here? He'll go for 5 hours. He drank a boot of rum. You gotta cut him off, man.
The rum is gone, actually.
This is like John Belushi in Animal House, Bobby. Let him go.
Hell,
Oh, well. Yes. So, folks, definitely do that. We want to hear your thoughts, reviews, comments, and tell us what you're thinking about the console wars. But with that, thank you, everyone. Bobby, always a pleasure. Mark, thank you for being a strong Canadian. Remember, it's always better to game together.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free. What Nintendo don't? Buy a 16-bit Genesis system between now and October 31st and get an extra game.